developments continuing at the White House this evening as this news breaks. Joining me now, Senator Jim Risch, who serves on the Senate Select Intelligence Committee. Senator Risch, good to have you here tonight. Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
So you are listening to all of this. What do you make of it?
Well, I don't know anything about the latest thing on the FBI situation. It strikes me that I used to be a prosecutor. If somebody came to me and asked me to squelch an investigation, I'd have screamed bloody murder about it and told the world. So I don't know. You know what's happening? You have a couple of large newspapers that are so vitriolic and hateful against the president that every little scrap of paper that blows across their desk that says something bad about him, they blow it up, and I think that's what you got. I mean, there's the use of non-sourced materials in this town is just is amazing.
So according to the New York Times, though, who is clearly one of the papers that you reference, they say that there is evidence that Jim Comey is a note taker. That he would often write things down. And we also know that in prior investigations, general FBI investigations, the notes that are taken by an agent during any kind of interchange with a source or anyone involved in a case are submitted as evidence. So, you know, if these notes are produced and they say what they're purported to say, which is, just to reference the story, it claims that the president said, "I hope you can let this go," referring to the investigation into Michael Flynn. Would you have a problem with that?
Well, you know, Martha, I don't want to do the if. Let's get the note out there and see what it says and find out why he didn't report it if indeed it happened. This is all speculation at this point. I really don't want to go there. Let's talk about what we signed up for.
I understand. Just indulge me for just one more moment, because would you say that Jim Comey, if that were the case, would have an obligation? In fact, it would be unlawful for him not to present evidence of obstruction of justice if that's what he thought it was in the moment.
Yeah, no question about that. And the acting director is very close to Comey, thinks very highly of them. They've worked together and everything else. And he's been in front of the committees in the Senate, and he hasn't said a word about that either. So awfully strange.
So you're going to get, and we already are getting, a lot of calls from Democrats, of folks on the other side of the aisle from you, for a special prosecutor, perhaps even an independent prosecutor, based on this and also based on the information that we originally invited you on to talk about, which is the question of any intelligence that might have been leaked in that meeting with the Russian officials the other day. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, you know, you got to have a crime first. If you're talking about this leak, the Russian classified material, the President of the United States has the absolute right and the legal right to declassify anything that's classified at any time he wants for any reason or no reason. Indeed, he has an obligation when he took the oath of office to declassify it when it's in the best interest of the people of the United States. The media in this town is acting like this is a one-off and gosh, this never happens. The President of the United States, this one and all previous presidents, has conversations about classified facts with foreign governments all the time, regularly, multiple times a week. There is nothing unusual about that at all. Now, someone committed a crime here. There's a weasel, and that person is the person who got a hold of the information that happened in that meeting between the president and the foreign minister of Russia. And that was classified information that this person got a hold of, and they leaked it to the New York Times. That's a felony. It's un-American. They endangered the lives of their families and other Americans. That person is guilty of treason and should be held to answer for it. I would call on the newspaper to come forward and identify the person that gave them this information.
I mean, you're clearly frustrated about the lack of investigation into leaks, and the White House is also very frustrated about that. They feel, as you do, that there are two sides to this story and they want an equal investigation. You're on the Intel Committee. What is it like in that committee when you press for this side of the story to also be investigated? What kind of feedback are you getting?
Well, we've done investigation of leaks lots and lots, and sometimes they come to something. More often than not, they don't, because the people just won't speak about it. So it's incredibly frustrating. You're saying there's two sides. There aren't two sides. There's only one side of this. Only one person committed a crime, and that is whoever the weasel was that disclosed this information.
In terms of your colleagues, Bob Corker has spoken in a very derogatory way about the administration, about the White House. He said, he sees it in a downward spiral. That's not an exact quote of what he said. You have a number of individuals who are very concerned. We saw Mitch McConnell earlier today said he wants to see a little less drama coming out of the White House. Are you calling for the White House to do things differently? Are you tired of this kind of stuff getting in the way of the agenda that you all thought you were brought to Washington to carry out? Tax reform, repeal and replace of Obamacare. This is making all that very tough.
Well, believe it or not, we are actually doing those things on top of all this other stuff that's going on. But look, I was a governor. I did things differently. We've got a president that's not acting in a classical situation. He communicates with the American people differently. He does it directly and not through a filter through the media that he doesn't like. But look, everybody's different. Every human being is different. Would I like to see some things different? Certainly. But I'm not gonna correct the president of the United States. He got to be look, you got to give this guy credit. I mean, he became president of the United States being who he was, and that's what's happening right now. I think it's getting better as time goes on.
You
certainly
do?
In the last 48 hours.
It doesn't feel like that in the past 2 days.
You wouldn't necessarily make that argument in the last 48 hours, but look, he was doing what presidents do. He was meeting with a foreign government. He discussed with them, and I'm neither confirming nor denying what the subject was, but public sourcing says it was the safety of passenger air flights in the world. I mean, this is something we have in common with the Russians. We exchange. But
his Homeland Security advisor saw fit to alert the CIA and the NSA immediately that was discussed in that room.
Absolutely.
They then redacted everything that the president said from it. So don't you think that's a little curious?
No, it is standard protocol after the president has a discussion with someone where he declassifies some information that the appropriate sources would make the notifications. None of this is unusual at all. The only thing that's unusual about it is the media got a hold of a classified conversation by somebody who wasn't authorized to do that. So again, the president has the right to do this and indeed the duty to do this. I would think that most people in America would be looking at this and saying, look, we and the Russians and every country on the face of this earth, with the exception of the terrorists, would want people to be safe when they got on an airplane. They should discuss how we can make flying safer.
So you're not concerned about that kind of information falling into the Russians' hands, given the fact that at points they have attacked the people that we're training in some of these areas? You don't have a problem with that?
Well, look, we have overlapping issues, and we have the same interest in seeing that flights are safe. When it comes to fighting terrorism, they have the same interest we have, and that is to see that they aren't attacked by terrorism also. This story about flight safety, as you know, you guys have had it for weeks about what's happening with computers, and phones and things. So this is, I mean, to get together and discuss how can we do this safer, this is what he was elected to be president for. This is what he took the oath of office for.
Senator Jim Risch, thank you very much for your time. Good to see you tonight, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here.